Hi Bala.
Hi, sir.
See, basically these sessions, I I have been coaching on Azure Generative AI services. But when I went through the job descriptions for applying jobs for one person who got coaching in generative AI, they're also asking about the data science related activities, ML
Okay.
related activities, and generative AI activities. Then later I felt many JDs they are asking traditional methods also, what they used in the projects. So I thought, let me conduct some sessions. At least my past participants will join. Um, they can
Yeah.
learn from the domain knowledge.
Yeah.
That is the intention of trying these sessions. And
Got
I
it.
also invited a lot of people, but nobody joined it.
Yeah.
So I'm continuing with you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in these sessions, what I'm going to cover basically the difference between machine learning and data science. I'm going
Yeah.
to cover it. Difference between data science and machine learning, and there are five use cases. I have pulled it, which is relevant for data science and also ML, machine learning.
Okay.
Also, you can build the solutions. Same use case in data science and same use case in ML up to the coding part. It means
Yeah.
complete development life cycle. I'm going to explain it. For that use case, how to design the solution, how
Got
to
it.
design the coding part for developers, how to give the plan for the tech lead or developer to implement that. That is the objective of this particular thing. When I give a coding like guidelines, simply the tech lead need to take forward and do it. So this kind of guidelines normally I give in the coaching. You have observed me in the past coaching also, right?
Okay.
We used to do a lot of POCs after discussion,
Yeah.
right? So, as a part of this, there are five use cases. I have derived it, and where they'll have business solution design, they'll have technical solution design, and plan for developers to implement the design, how to implement the design, then coding guidelines. In
Got
the
it.
coding guidelines, also, I have given the plan. Just what I'll do, I'll walk through very fast the high level slides today for you,
Yeah.
since your first time. So the unique use cases are fraud detection in financial transactions and healthcare predictive analytics and customer churn prediction in telecom and demand forecasting in retail sector and personalized marketing and recommendation systems. These are the five use cases I am taking it.
Yeah.
So after that, what I did is I derived the business solutions within the data science domain, like how they can work with these things. Implementing data science,
Yeah.
you take a business analyst role. The BA typically what happens, they do this kind of thing, this kind of business solutions part. After that, they are going to give these kind of solutions to technical design people who are expert in data science domain, technical domain. Now, let us say these are the
Got it.
steps you can see in the video, previous session video. I have explained it. And after that, we're going to do this technical design also. Once business domain case solution is designed, it. See here, there are steps:
Yeah.
collect data collection, feature engineering, model development, real time monitoring. This feature engineering is very popular thing to maintain the data for personalization, marketing kind of thing.
Yes.
Then we also have designed the I mean, I have designed the developer plan how to implement these things. What are the infrastructure required? Infrastructure means this is a non-cloud environment. It is not yet moved into cloud. Legacy practices. So how data science used to be their applications. So let us say example. They need use TensorFlow, scikit-learn, that kind of tools. They need to use it to implement these kind of things. The same thing. They also need to follow HIPAA kind of
Yes, sir.
compliance governance. You know about cloud security poster management. We discussed about the
Of course.
HIPAA
Yeah. HIPAA high trust
compliance
compliance.
governance.
Yeah.
Yes, for healthcare domain. The
Yeah.
same way they need to implement for data science also, application wise, to protect the data. Then there are some other tools where they need to connect to ERP tools also, inventory management tools also, for forecasting. That kind of things were discussed later. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, here, yesterday video, you can find up to business solution design. Now, today I'm going to start the discussion with the technical design solutions. Okay. So let me start it. You are able to see my screen, right? Slide.
Yes, sir.
Let me increase single slide. You are able to see clearly this one, full screen.
Yes, sir. Able to see.
Okay.
Yeah. 20th slide.
So yeah, here are the technical design solutions for each data science use cases using a data science approach. First one is fraud detection in financial transactions. What the technical people need to do, they need to collect the data first if they want to detect the fraud in the financial transactions. Gather historical transaction data, including transaction amount, location, and customer details. Now, if you see ATM card, we use credit card. We use those cards online also through some websites.
Yes, sir.
Some hackers can steal the credit
Data.
cards information and they can buy something on our behalf and transaction will go on our name.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes what happens, if unusual transaction comes, you will get the call within 5 minutes from the banker.
Within a minute, we'll
They,
get to authorize
yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah. They're going to ask, is it your transaction or it is a fraud thing?
Yes.
Then you need to give the confirmation about that transaction. If you don't give confirmation, then they are going to block that card. That kind
Yes,
of
sir.
things are there. Now, let us say there is another way. You see the statement or you see the SMS, the card is deducted with some amount. Then you get surprised because you have not done that transaction. You are not
Yes, sir.
approved any organization to do monthly billing on your
Yes, sir.
card, right?
Yes, sir.
So in such case, the data need to be collected for fraud detection,
Yeah.
the transaction amount, which location, and customer details. Customer is our card is there, our details. After that, feature engineering is the practice in data science and machine learning. We need to apply. What is the process here? Extract and engineer features such as transaction frequency, time of day, and transaction amounts to identify patterns indicative of fraud. What is transaction frequency? How many times the card were used? What is the frequency? It is weekly or monthly or daily.
Yeah.
That data. The
Yeah.
time of day, what time they used it. Okay, and transaction amount to identify patterns indicating indicative of fraud. Transaction amount and related to which purchase also it can be used it. So
Yes,
these
sir.
are required for feature engineering. Feature engineering means you are going to analyze the data with particular descriptions of this fraud. You are going to
Yes, sir.
convert this data analysis into different descriptions under feature engineering. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then later you are going to do model development. Okay. What is the model development? Develop machine learning models such as anomaly detection algorithms and predictive models to identify and predict fraudulent transactions. So here, when you are using data science techniques are used up to business analysis, business solution wise. But when it comes to the technical area, some areas we need to depend on the machine learning models only. That is the reason they are suggesting here to use the machine learning model to detect the mm, fraud
Fraud
uh,
detection thing.
detection through the ML algorithms. Okay, so you need to use develop machine learning models such as anomaly detection algorithms and predictive models to identify and predict fraudulent transactions. This particular activity, how we are going to do technically with the developer guidelines, we can see detailed way. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then real-time monitoring. Implement real-time monitoring systems to detect anomalies in new transactions and flag potentially fraudulent activities for further investigation. So in the real-time applications, what happens? The fraud is done already. Bank
Yes.
need to identify. It is banker responsibility.
Yes.
So they need to implement the monitoring systems. When fraud is applied, it need to give alert to the internal people and see the new transactions and what actions they need to take that need to be implemented. That practice, business practice. So second
Yes.
part is second use case is predictive analytics. Data gathering is there in that. Collect what I am going to do. Let me do one thing. Now we discussed about the technical design of this use case. We'll go back to the developer front, developer role. We'll see what is the fraud
Yeah.
detection in financial transactions, the plan for development. We'll see. Then we'll see for coding also. One use case will complete the full life cycle of the software development life cycle activities, right? So,
Yes.
under fraud detection, what is the plan? Plan to gather transaction data from various sources and design a data pipeline for continuous data injection. What is data pipeline? Basically, what happens? So many lakhs of credit cards will be there, debit cards will be there with the banker. They need to receive the
Yes.
continuous data on as an ongoing basis. That data they need to pipeline
Yes.
for inputting for data pre-processing purpose. So that is the reason first they need to create the data pipeline to stage the data whatever they are receiving at different levels from different locations also. Then later, developing
Yeah.
data pre-processing scripts to clean and transform the data
Yeah.
for anomaly detection, fraud detection models. So in pre-processing, what happens if you are getting the data with unfilled information, like credit card expiry, there can be
Yeah.
a card number or something that is missing means what happens? That need to be filled
Yes.
by the data pre-processing people. Basically, the data analyst role will come here to work with the data pre-processing,
Yeah.
data cleansing, such kind of things. Okay. Then implement machine learning algorithms for fraud detection and real-time monitoring using frameworks like TensorFlow, Scikit-learn. So TensorFlow is meant for doing preparing the ML algorithms. Basically, it is not a cloud-based. It is an independent
Okay.
infrastructure-related setup can be done either in the laptop or in the desktop or in any server. TensorFlow
Yeah.
can be installed it and it can be used it. So next one is establish a scalable infrastructure to deploy and manage models in production, ensuring continuous monitoring and updates. So here, scalable infrastructure, why it is
Yeah.
required? You need to increase the data size. Pipeline data is there. Data is coming in huge way. Lot of frauds are happening means in particular country or particular location. They need to be able to increase the server's
Yes.
capacity and increase the servers also on the network that is used for scalable infrastructure. If you take in cloud, it is very easy. You can
Yeah.
scale up and down easily by using the auto scale
Up and down
program,
the
right?
infrastructure.
In every cloud.
Yeah.
But if it is a manual
Yes.
setup on premises non-cloud environment, it is very difficult. They need to pre-plan it for scaling the infrastructure also and ensuring continuous monitoring and updates
Yes,
as
sir.
there is a monitoring system need to be there. What is happening in these data, what are the frauds, how many times it is coming for each card, that kind of things can be identified. So this is about design part, technical
Yeah.
design part from developer perspective. Before going to the developer, I can say.
Yes, sir.
Now let us go to the uh, coding guidelines and development plan for this use case. So fraud detection and financial transactions coding guidelines. Follow best practices for data processing to ensure data integrity and consistency. This is the best practice for the developers. Implement code for feature engineering,
Yes.
model training and deployment to facilitate code maintenance and reusability. So when they do the feature engineering, they need to write the particular Python code, analyze the data for a data analysis and bringing the fraud detection or anomalies descriptions basically. See, the fraud can happen. The user reported it. Somebody entered customer service agent the data. The
Yes,
data
sir.
is not clear. It will not
Yeah.
write like a description of the fraud. So customer said somebody from XYZ site they used it, his card number, and he got deducted from the credit card. That is the information. Then that need to be reorganized into a description format. xyz.com used his card number so and so, the expiry date is this one, and on this date at this time it is used from this location for the amount of so and so. That is the description need to come. That will come from the feature engineering data.
Yeah.
Then that is the description of the anomaly. So they are going to analyze it, users, where it is failing,
Yeah.
this fraud is happening, for what purpose, who are all using, for what purposes, kind of thing, right? Then model training will be there. As per the ML concepts, model
Yes.
training is there. Deployment to facilitate code maintenance and reusability. So
Yeah.
deployment will happen in the machine learning through the ML labs process. We are going to see separately the ML labs activity later on. So next one is utilize version control systems to track changes and collaborate with team members effectively. Version control systems are being used for software code. Basically, we are going to use here Python code. Most of the ML systems they use Python code, right? Now, development plan is what to create
Yes.
data pre-processing scripts for data cleansing, feature extraction, and transformation. So whatever the activities we discussed during the guidelines, we are helping you for writing the scripts. Then develop anomaly detection and predictive
Yeah.
models using frameworks like Python, scikit-learn or TensorFlow. So anomaly detection, there will be some Python modules will be there. You can use them as a developer. Though we using those Python modules, they can apply for this data, then they can detect it, predictive models. What is predictive model? Let us say the card is being used number of times in that country. Okay. Now there can be flat countries also, right? So the bank need to advise: don't use your card in that country. We are banning our card in that country. You can't use it
Yeah.
because of so many frauds are happening with violation. Then that predictive model will give that kind of suggestions. More frauds are happening in which country, where this particular credit card can be banned by the bank. When they use that card, amount of transaction will come. But transaction when it comes to the bank can reject automatically. They don't need to consult the customer also. Now what they are doing, unusual transactions, if it is coming, we are getting the calls from the banker, right? Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But Shiva, you
Yes,
joined.
sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So we're going to use Python these things. So plan for deployment of models in production systems, integrating them with real-time transaction monitoring. So there are a lot of monitoring tools are there in the bank, like transactions monitoring. Alerts also it creates. This particular TensorFlow predictive model can be connected to that particular database monitoring system, and from the same data you can pull it and analyze it and create a dashboard also. That is the plan it is given for the developer here. Now we will go back to the healthcare system use case now. Okay. Second use case. Okay. Now first use case, fraud detection, we have seen the technical design, business analyst solution design, and we have seen for technical design. Then later on we saw for developer plan also. Now healthcare wise, if you see, let me increase size. So healthcare predictive analytics for technical design. What they are going to do, they are gathering data. What data? Collect patient health records. Yes, there is a clinical data given to the nurses or doctors. That data they are going to collect it under health records.
Yes.
The records are stored in the digital format. One need to scan that
Yes.
and get the symptoms data, symptoms data basically. So genetic data means in general they can analyze the data and predict what are the diseases can come for this kind of symptoms. So let us say one patient is there. He has gone with high BP, high diabetes. Automatically, doctor can advise by saying that he can predict it. There is a chance you will get heart attack. Am I right? Voila.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Doctors,
Yeah. Yes.
doctors will say the same way, right? By seeing the report or
Yeah.
by talking to the people itself. You need to be cautious.
Yeah.
You need to use this kind of food habits. All these things, blah, 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 all the list they will read it, right?
Yes, sir. They will.
So that is
Exactly.
coming from the genetic data. And
Yeah.
historical treatment outcomes are like if these symptoms are there, what kind of
Yeah.
treatments they have done for the past patients, how they got recovered it, and what kind of risks they got it also. That is the predictive analytics the system need to give, the healthcare ML system. So
Yes.
for that, what we are doing, we are collecting all the data. Feature extraction, we are doing it. The feature extraction role is it need to fine tune the data and come up with some kind of descriptions of the diseases of the patient. Okay. Extract
Yes, sir.
relevant features from patient data such as demographics, medical history, and genetic markers. Okay. All these will come from the feature extraction in the medical records from medical records. So
Yeah.
predictive modeling is utilize statistical and machine learning models to predict disease like disease diagnosis, risk scores, and treatment outcomes. Obviously, if medical history is there and also historical treatment outcomes data is there, with genetic data is there, obviously they can come up with predicting of the disease and diagnosis of that and risk
Yeah.
scores. What kind of risk can be there? Let us say he has got heart strokes already one time or two times. Then doctor will say it is a risk for you. If you are doing this kind of thing, don't go. And there is a
Yeah.
third stroke. If it comes, it will go for death. They will say. Am I right?
Yeah. Gone kind. Yes, sir.
So that kind of analysis, it need to give the ML system to the doctors also, right? Then personalized care plans, develop
Yes,
personalized
sir.
treatment plans based on predictive models and patient-specific data. So the developer, the designer is advised to do. He need to develop the treatment plans with predictive models. Whatever they analyze the data from feature extraction by gathering the data with predictive analytics model, all those things. Okay, and
Yes, sir.
patient specific data also they need to consider it, and enabling tailored healthcare intervention. So for this patient, what kind of things can come from the genetic data, they can assume it. So now this is about technical design. They need to design, the designer need to plan like this, and he need to give the development plan. Now let us see what
Yeah.
is the developer's plan. So the developer need to plan to collaborate with healthcare providers to access and securely handle patient data for analysis. Where it will be the data, because many people have under health insurance in any country.
Yes.
So that data they are going to pull from the healthcare providers, past patient data. After that, develop data pipelines to integrate patient records. So data pipeline we discussed in the previous example for fraud detection. In the fraud detection, what we discussed, the banking applications will have data that need to be used under data pipeline service in a cloud or non-cloud. Okay. Then they need to
Yes,
develop
sir.
data pipelines to integrate patient records, genetic data, and the other relevant information for predictive modeling. Design and train predictive models
Yes.
using healthcare specific algorithms and techniques to predict disease diagnosis and treatment outcomes. So ensure compliance with healthcare regulations such as HIPAA in handling sensitive patient data throughout the development process. Basically, in the healthcare analysis, data protection purpose, there are so many privacy policies are there using the HIPAA as a compliance process, HIPAA compliance
Yes, sir.
process.
Yeah.
So that need to be followed by the designers. Basically, they need to give
Yes.
cautions to the developers. Now let us go to the developers activity for coding purpose. Now this is the developers plan. Okay, 1 minute. Let us go to the development plan first. Okay, then here healthcare predictive analytics is the use case we were studying it. The coding guidelines are adhere to data privacy regulations, best practices for handling sensitive patient data throughout the development process. See, the developer need the data to test the programs. The real data is required. But when they take that particular data, the designer or business analyst can pad particular content on the data, which is very privacy related content. Okay, so that the regulations they need to follow for privacy of the data. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that the
Yes.
developer need to be aware of that first thing. Then document the data integration process and ensure proper data anonymization and encryption. So data encryption also is required. If you are transferring the file from one database to another database, you need to do encryption, right? These are our data security policies. You know, Bala, you are in Azure security already. Okay, you know, data privacy purpose, security policies,
Yes.
what they need to follow,
Data
what
privacy.
data, yeah, data privacy
Exactly.
policies are there, right? So implement
And
robust,
implement zero trust as well.
correct. So next one line is, if you see, implement robust error handling and logging mechanisms to track and troubleshoot issues in healthcare data processing. So basically what happens, they will give access to particular people. When they're logging it, that security policies also they need to follow. They need to give the authorized users only with privacy, with three-way authentication kind of thing, right? So now coding guidelines are given. What is the development plan for this use case? Collaborate with healthcare providers to create secure data pipelines for integrating patient healthcare records and genetic data. So to pull the data from healthcare providers, they need to connect as API gateway. Like payment gateway is there, they need to connect their systems to that particular providers to pull the patient data. That is one thing. Then develop predictive models for disease prediction and treatment outcome diagnosis using Python and healthcare specific libraries. Basically, what
Yes.
happens? We discussed about the TensorFlow usage. Using the TensorFlow, you can use the Python libraries and develop the predictive models, and you can predict the analysis data and the treatment outcomes. Also, it can suggest it. See, one is you took the patient data from healthcare provider, you analyzed it, you did feature engineering for the issues, then you came up with a massage data or streamlined data. You are providing to predictive analytics model, ML model. That model is giving the outcome of the analysis basically.
Yeah.
Then after that, you are planning for rigorous testing and validation of the models to ensure accuracy and reliability. See, basically what you are doing, you are developing particular model with the live data. You are making sure that model is tested also. Once it is tested, you are going to release it to particular hospitals or particular practitioners, general practitioners. Okay, it is called GPs in general. Okay, in medical field. So general practitioner will have that particular product, and he is going to type the patient information or patient ID from healthcare provider or insurance ID. Then it is going to pull all the data in seconds itself, and it is going to give the final report as a dashboard. The patient, what he need to do, he will print it and he will show it to patients. So this is the thing, you have symptom, these are the past history, this is the precautions you need to take. That's where the solution. So for what you need to do, I am going to write some prescriptions. You will say, that's all, finish. Patient history is done, analysis is done with the ML system, doctor used the report, then he presented with the prescription also. That patient has gone. Next patient will come. When next patient will comes, is going to enter the insurance ID. Obviously, the ML systems are pulling that. It is analyzing and printing the another report for that particular second patient. The same way they are going to use the ML systems for predictive analytics. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we are going to do, we will stop here for today. Uh, and how do you feel
Yeah.
this domain knowledge learning?
Sir, to be honest, it was like complete new learning for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, your background is security, but applications, if there are ML
Yes, sir.
related, DS related applications are there, you need to be aware little bit domain knowledge also, the activities
Yeah.
also, like this, right?
Yes, sir.
To perform security role. Where you need to
Yes, sir.
apply security, you need to be aware of that, right? Hello.
sorry, I was speaking on. So earlier, we used to use these things, sir. I mean, like
You need to speak
from, to be
nearer to
honest,
the
from
mic,
from
Bala. Mic.
infrastructure. Yeah. So being from infrastructure standpoint of view, working on an insurance, like insurance AI domain, so we used to work on few of the things on data management, implementing when there are any anomaly attacks kind of things. So we used to implement security domain. So that's how
Hmm.
we got trained on few things. Not, I wouldn't say end to end, but few things we used to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we are going to work in the ML arena or area, including generative AI in Azure, one
Yeah.
need to understand at least some knowledge of the ML concepts and data science concepts.
Yes, sir.
When you interact with the developers, they will talk in this jargon also, in this way
Yes, sir.
also about the activities, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me stop the recording.